What was your last year in the league?
14.
And it's 14 and now.
Right
it's
then
like,
is when I feel like
that
I
looked like the
started to do
90s
this,
compared
right?
to.
Started to do this.
Yeah,
We done with the 90s.
the 14s, the 10s through the 14s look like the old style of ball.
Right.
Because of the,
It's crazy right now.
But now it just look like
it's
we
totally
playing
different.
2K. I love that we shoot so many threes. I love that we got big shooting threes now. I love that we got so much space to work.
Kevin Durant was supposed to be quiet. He was supposed to be chasing a championship in Phoenix. Instead, on his personal podcast, with the world listening, the most famously honest and online superstar in the game decided to burn it all down. When the conversation turned to the pillars of the modern NBA, Durant didn't just disagree with the LeBron James narrative. He used his sharpest blade to cut the king down to size. Let's be real. There are players who are built in the gym and players who are built on TV. One is a superstar. The other is a media-made product. You can't convince me that 20 years of perfect press is an accident. The target was unmistakable. The war was declared. This is the story of the day Kevin Durant pulled back the curtain and called LeBron James a fraud. It wasn't a press conference. It wasn't a slip in a heated post-game interview. The attack came from Kevin Durant's own sanctuary, the studio of his highly popular podcast, The ETCs. Surrounded by his inner circle, in a relaxed setting meant for unfiltered conversation, Durant found himself discussing the concept of organic basketball greatness versus manufactured narratives. The host, a close friend, posed a seemingly innocent question. KD, in your eyes, what separates a player whose legend is built purely on the court from one whose legend feels curated? Durant leaned back, a knowing, almost cynical smile playing on his lips. He took a long sip from his drink, letting the silence build. You're asking about the difference between substance and production, he began, his voice calm, but dripping with intent. Look, I've been in this league a long time. I've seen how it works. There are guys, rare guys, who just ball. Their game does all the talking. The highlights, the wins, the skill. It's undeniable. It's raw. Then there are other guys. The ones where the story comes first. The chosen one narrative out of high school. The decision. The constant, polished messaging. The legacy tours. He paused, letting the descriptions hang in the air. No names were needed. The archetypes were crystal clear. One is a superstar, Durant continued, his tone turning razor sharp. The other is a media-made product, a brand. And the crazy thing is, the brand becomes so powerful, so omnipresent, that people start confusing the marketing for the man, the press conferences for the performance. You can't convince me that 20 years of perfect, crisis-free, universally celebrated press is an accident. That's not reality. That's a PR machine. The co-host sat in stunned silence for a beat before awkwardly chuckling and trying to move the conversation along. But it was too late. The clip was already being ripped, transcribed, and sent into the digital stratosphere. Kevin Durant hadn't just criticized LeBron James's game. He had attacked the fundamental architecture of his empire, accusing him of being a meticulously constructed image, not an authentic basketball force.
Ninth grade, and I turned on ESPN one day. LeBron James was the guy that people says the next Jordan. So in my mind, I was a 6'2" like JV player. I didn't play varsity my first year, my ninth grade year. So in my mind, I was like, this is the best player. So I have to be as good as this, or I have to look him in the eyes at some point in my career. So, that was always in the back of my mind as I worked, as I played games. I wondered, because that's what was told to me, that was the new guy, that was the next Jordan. So, but that evolved.
To understand the explosive power of Durant's words, you have to unpack the specific, loaded terminology he chose. This wasn't a vague shot about clutch gene or leadership. This was a surgical strike at LeBron James's origin story, and the engine of his global fame. Media-made superstar is the ultimate diss in the modern athlete's lexicon. It implies that the acclaim is not earned through pure, unadulterated performance, but manufactured through strategic access, sympathetic coverage, and narrative control. Durant was pointing directly at the LeBron James phenomenon that began not in the NBA, but on the cover of Sports Illustrated as the chosen one at 17. He was referencing the meticulously managed decision, the carefully crafted image of the family man and businessman. The lifetime deal with a sports network that functions as a de facto in-house media arm.b. Why contrasting this with players built in the gym, Durant positioned himself and others as authentic, blue-collar craftsmen. Their value, he implied, comes solely from the sweat on the court, not from boardroom deals or producer meetings. It reframes LeBron's unparalleled mainstream success not as a reward for greatness, but as the cause of his perceived greatness, a profound and dangerous inversion. The most damning line. 20 years of perfect press is an accident, is the dagger. It suggests conspiracy and calculation. In an era where every superstar faces blistering criticism, Durant himself is perpetually roasted for his Twitter fingers and team hopping. LeBron's relatively Teflon reputation is framed as unnatural, a product of media partnerships and intimidation rather than genuine, universal respect. Durant wasn't just calling LeBron overrated. He was calling the entire system that anointed him a fraud. This moves the conflict from the basketball court to the control room, accusing LeBron of winning the narrative game, not just the basketball game.
You and LeBron, you guys, as a part of that conversation, always. So whenever you face the floor, you play game. What's the plan?
It's a special time, especially with us getting older and our time in the league is coming to an end. You cherish every moment. You always appreciate the battles against the best of the best. It brings the best out of you as an individual. So I look forward to playing in LA tonight. The energy is always incredible to start the season there in that arena. And having an opportunity to play against a guy who I've been battling with my whole career should be fun.
What's your relationship with him like, just off the court throughout the years? I know you've been so many years.
Yeah, it's just...
This attack didn't come out of nowhere. It is the venomous bloom of a seed planted over a decade ago, tracing the arc of Durant's own career, which has perpetually been measured against LeBron's son for years. KD was the heir apparent, the only player whose scoring prowess seemed capable of challenging the King's throne. But his path to the top was blocked by LeBron. First in the 2012 finals with Oklahoma City, a humbling introduction to the biggest stage. Then, his move to Golden State was, in many eyes, an admission that he could not build a team to defeat LeBron's Cavaliers on his own. Even after winning 2 Finals MVPs over LeBron, the narrative wasn't about KD's supremacy. It was framed as him joining a 73-win team to beat him. His rings were branded with an asterisk of convenience. While LeBron's victory in 2016 was hailed as the apex of legacy building. Meanwhile, Durant watched LeBron's narrative machinery operate flawlessly. He saw the unwavering media protection, the transformation from player to mogul, the celebration of the decision as empowerment, while his own move to Golden State was painted as weakness. KD, who wears his insecurities on his sleeve and battles critics directly on social media, has no such machine. His truth is messy, public, and unpolished. Durant's media-made rant is the eruption of this long-simmering resentment. It's the frustration of a pure scorer and Olympic-level talent who believes his on-court craftsmanship has never been valued as highly as LeBron's off-court empire building. It's him finally saying out loud what he's likely thought for years, that he is the better pure basketball player. But LeBron is the better businessman and brand manager. And the world has foolishly conflated the two. This isn't just about 2025. It's about every headline, every MVP vote, every GOAT debate since 2010, where he felt his raw skill was losing to a better-told story.
5 triple doubles in the regulars. As you said, I don't look into stats. All I care is that we came in here, we get the job done. We got another one tomorrow. Stats are gonna be there, man. If you're on the court and you're playing and you have great teammates that they're looking for you, and you're ready and prepared and you're working on your game, stats gonna be there. And that's easy. That's the easy part. The tough part now is to, how can you make those stats count? How can it doesn't matter the triple double. I was just happy that I was able to make the right play and find my teammates, and we were able to knock down shots, threes, and it was just good offense. So that means we're getting better.
Kevin Durant's words were a match thrown into a powder keg of media dynamics. The fallout wasn't just fan debate. It was an immediate, multi-pronged counterassault from the very media ecosystem Durant accused of manufacturing LeBron's legend. First, the first take doctrine went into effect. On flagship debate shows, prominent voices who have built careers alongside LeBron's narrative launched a coordinated defense. They didn't just defend his basketball credentials. They attacked Durant's character and credibility. The framing was relentless. KD is the ultimate hypocrite. He joined a super team, hides on Twitter, and now criticizes the man who built empires from the ground up. They painted Durant's comments as the bitter rant of a perennial bus rider jealous of the true bus driver. Second, a wave of legacy articles flooded digital media. Pieces titled LeBron's Greatness by the Numbers and the 20-year blueprint KD doesn't understand began trending. These articles systematically contrasted LeBron's tangible achievements, business, philanthropy, on-court records, against Durant's podcast venting, framing the latter as empty words from a less accomplished player. The message was clear. The media-made superstar's body of work is so vast it can be weaponized by that same media to crush dissent. Most telling, however, was the deafening silence from LeBron's inner circle. His business partners, his longtime friend and agent Rich Paul, his media allies, none issued a direct rebuttal. Their strategy was one of dismissive elevation. They didn't engage with the media-made charge. They acted as if it was too absurd to even acknowledge, further proving Durant's point about control. Instead, LeBron himself posted a single, cryptic Instagram story, a slow-motion video of him lifting an impossibly heavy weight in a pristine, private gym. The caption, "The Lab Year 23. Hashtag the work is the work." No mention of Durant. It was the ultimate power move, responding to an attack on his authenticity by projecting an image of pure, isolated, unmanufactured grind. The empire didn't scream. It simply posted its evidence and let its loyal subjects draw their own conclusions.
Back, obviously, first game in quite a while, almost 7 months. So, everything that happened tonight was as expected. I think the pace, versus a team like Utah, who played with a lot of pace, a lot of movement, a lot of cutting and things of that nature, tested us, tested me, obviously. I was happy the way I was able to keep up with the guys.
Outside of the X's and O's, one thing about you is you've always prided yourself on being available. Just from a joy and fun standpoint, what was that like for you?
It was just fun to be out there with the guys, man. Like I said, it's been rough, mentally for me. It's the first time I've started.
The court of public opinion didn't just render a verdict. It fractured into two irreconcilable realities, revealing a deep cultural schism in how fans consume sports in the 21st century. Team Durant, the truth tellers. This faction, largely comprising younger fans, analytics enthusiasts, and those skeptical of corporate sports narratives, hailed KD as a prophet. On social media, the hashtag #MediaMade trended for 48 hours, accompanied by edited supercuts of fawning LeBron coverage over the years. To them, Durant had the courage to say the quiet part out loud, that sports media is not a neutral observer, but a key player in crafting legends. They argued that LeBron's brand of careful, corporate excellence feels sanitized and inauthentic compared to Durant's raw, flawed, online persona. KD talks to us on burner accounts. LeBron talks to us through a press release, became a popular refrain. For this group, Durant's attack wasn't petty. It was a necessary critique of a system that values marketability over pure, unfiltered skill. Team LeBron, the legacy defenders. The counter-mobilization was massive. This camp, supported by traditional media and fans who value longevity and legacy, framed Durant's comments as the ultimate act of sporting sacrilege. Their argument wasn't just about basketball. It was about respect for an institution. You don't accidentally become a billion-dollar brand, argued one prominent sports commentator. You build it by being impeccable for 2 decades. Durant is confusing media-made with media-respected. They cover LeBron because he makes history, not the other way around. They painted Durant as a gifted but petulant star, forever in LeBron's shadow, whose podcast rant was a pathetic attempt to tear down a mountain he could never climb. Memes comparing Durant's career path to LeBron's were everywhere, always with the tagline, "One built super teams. One built empires." The battleground extended beyond basketball. It became a referendum on authenticity versus excellence, grassroots versus corporate, and disruption versus tradition. Every retweet, like, and comment was a vote for one vision of sports stardom over the other. The debate proved that in the modern era, an athlete's narrative is as contested as their performance, and Kevin Durant had just declared all-out war on the most powerful narrative of them all.
Call me MVP again until I win it again. And then you won it again, and you said, don't call me MVP again until I'm a champion. What unfinished business was left for you there?
You know, I always wanted to be a champion. You know, period. You know, I feel like, you know, if I kept hearing the word MVP and MVP, I just gonna settle. You know, I'm not gonna work to be better. I never dreamed to be the MVP. I wanted to be a champion. You know, and I didn't want to feel like, you know, settled. Once I got the MVP, I'm like, oh yeah, I won the MVP. It's okay, whatever. You know, I'm good now. You know,
In the weeks following the podcast, a chilling new normal set in. The damage was no longer about the initial insult, but about the permanently poisoned atmosphere it created. Every interaction between the two, no matter how minor, was now a loaded diplomatic incident. During the All-Star game, a brief, seemingly casual exchange at half-court was dissected frame by body language experts on YouTube. When Durant's Suns faced LeBron's Lakers, the pregame handshake wasn't a greeting. It was global news. The broadcast focused relentlessly on the two stars, turning a team sport into a gladiatorial proxy war. The actual game result became secondary to the meta-narrative of their personal conflict. The league itself faced a quiet crisis. The NBA's global marketing has long relied on the myth of brotherhood and mutual respect among its superstars, the idea that fierce competitors are friends off the court. Durant had shattered that myth by exposing what many suspected: deep-seated professional jealousy and philosophical contempt. It made the product feel more real, but also more uncomfortably raw. How could the league promote its NBA family brand when two of its most prominent faces were embroiled in a feud questioning the very legitimacy of one's stardom? For Durant and LeBron, the path forward was fraught. Any future praise from one to the other would be seen as hollow, coerced, or strategic. Their legacies are now eternally intertwined in conflict, a bitter asterisk that will color every mention of their rivalry. Durant achieved his goal of forcing a reevaluation of LeBron's media-made image, but at a catastrophic cost. He cemented his own reputation as the league's brilliant, irredeemable provocateur, forever on the outside looking in at the kingdom he sought to deconstruct. LeBron, meanwhile, faced the subtle erosion of his Teflon image. The media-made tag, whether true or not, became a permanent part of his story, a weapon for his critics and a question mark for neutral observers. He won the immediate PR battle, but Durant may have won the long-term war of perception, successfully planting a seed of doubt that can never be fully uprooted. As so, what did Kevin Durant actually accomplish? He didn't erase LeBron's stats. He didn't remove his rings. He did something potentially more profound. He attempted to separate the man from the myth. For 2 decades, LeBron James has been a singular entity, the player and the brand, the athlete and the icon, the performance and the press release. Durant's nuclear accusation was an attempt to drive a wedge between those halves, to say, this part is real, and this part is manufactured. He forced every fan, analyst, and historian to ask an uncomfortable question. How much of what we believe about a superstar is their true essence? And how much is the flawless story sold to us? Whether you believe Durant is a jealous truth-teller or a bitter iconoclast, his attack marks a turning point. It signifies the moment a top-tier player rejected the established rules of legacy building and directly challenged the machinery behind the throne. The fallout is a more cynical, divided, but perhaps more clear-eyed NBA landscape. The final question is this: in an age where image is everything, is calling someone media-made the most devastating critique possible? Or is it just the sour grapes of someone who lost the narrative game? The answer depends on which version of reality you choose to believe.